Hi, this is Chaplain Michele. I hope you are doing well today, regardless of where you are, who you are, what you're doing. My prayer for you is that you are in the best possible place, and even if you aren't, just know that you have people that see you, that hear you, and that are praying for you, whether they know you or not. I being one of them. And today we're going to talk about how the principle of abundance really works. How the principle of abundance really works. Before I hop right into that, please go ahead, like, subscribe, share, and turn on your notifications so you'll know when I record and upload new excerpts and new installments. When we talk about abundance, we think overflow, and we may not think that because the way we have taught that, or at least the way that I have heard it taught, does not align with the spiritual principle of abundance. Abundance means more than enough. Abundance means overflow. Abundance means we met the goal. Abundance means I have what I need. Abundance means that there is continued growth beyond what I expected. Abundance means that the ground produced something that I did not expect in the best possible sense. Abundance is a factor of multiple things. Two key things, though. This is a farming principle that we have to understand applies spirit, soul, and body to every aspect of our lives. So it doesn't matter whether we're talking about a spiritual place of healing or abundance, a place in our soul, which is intellect, psyche, emotion. All of those things are housed in the soul or in the body. And when I talk about body, talking about not just the physicality that we are animated with, but also what is attached to it: a livelihood, housing, clothing, food, shelter, finances, all of those things, the ability to work, the ability to play, the ability to speak, the ability to not speak, which is probably the greater feat in humanity. But the principle and what we've taught, what I've generally heard, is actually not fully how the principle of abundance works, which is why we end up in such a defeated, deficit-based position, because the principle of abundance has to work across the board. There is no principle. It's like, and I use gravity because everybody understands gravity, or at least they seem to, or they should. Gravity is what keeps our feet attached to the earth so that we're not flying around in space unprotected, our lives in jeopardy because we cannot survive in that atmosphere with some kind of apparatus. So think of it this way. If you think about gravity and what gravity does, even though we don't have to consciously think about gravity, most importantly, we don't have to I believe in gravity in order for it to take hold. Abundance works the same way. And over some period of time, at least in my life and in what I've observed, what I've experienced, is abundance doesn't care who you are. It's just like anything else. We can manipulate principles and practices to make it seem as if the spiritual principle is working for us. But the way abundance truly works, for true abundance to come forth in a way where we don't have to think about it, we don't have to plan, we don't have to manipulate it. Once we manipulate it, it's no longer the principle at work, it's us at work, which means we've invalidated the principle. The true spiritual principle of abundance works on a foundation that we are grossly unfamiliar with. And that is that everyone has what they need. Let me repeat that. The true principle of abundance, the true principle of everybody getting to overflow, of everybody having more than what they need, of everybody getting to that place that we seemingly all desire but can't seem to get to, is to understand that the basis of the principle of abundance is not let me get more for me. That's not the foundation. The foundation is let me make sure you have what you need. And all of this is based on another channel that I've written for and doing writing for. I had a I'm doing a series, and one of the chapters that I'm currently expounding on is called For Farmers Only, and I think that the same applies here to this principle. I don't know if I'm going to call it exactly this. Who knows? Check the title, and you'll know what I came up with. But it's a farming, it's an agricultural and reproductive principle. Think of farming. You don't have to know farming. You don't have to change your career. You don't have to know it intimately. But hopefully you are as grateful and thankful to our hardworking families in the farming industry who have continued to do what they need to do in the field, literally and illustratively speaking. That's not the best word. That's not the word I meant. I've got at least 2 or 3 thoughts going on, but you know what I'm saying. Metaphorically and literally, that they do what they do in that field, and they are expert at it. They know the ground, they know the soil, they know what seed goes in what soil, what harvest it's supposed to produce. They know how to make sure that what they're planting is matched to what it is. I mean, even winemakers and vintners and anyone that's working with ground has to understand the ground. The ground has to have what it needs in order to receive the seed. We're talking about the basis and for abundance, the foundation for abundance, how the spirit and the principle of abundance truly works. It is not based on, let me focus on me getting everything that I want. That's not abundance. That is actually a deficit mindset. That's actually a deficit mindset that is manipulated to make it seem as if I can get what I want, but you can't get what you want. At that point, it's no longer a principle, it's a manipulation. The principle does not need our permission to work. It does need, however, our cooperation if it's going to work for us. Let me say that again. There is no spiritual principle that needs our permission to work. Everything in our lives is spiritual. We are spirit first. So everything in our lives, the undercurrent of everything that we do, say, think, believe is all spiritual. It all starts in the spirit. Therefore, we have to understand the spiritual principles that are undergirding our seen lives versus the unseen. Our seen lives, in order for our seen lives to reach their optimal value. I didn't say perfection. There's no such thing in humanity. We're being perfected, but that's a whole nother story. So since we're talking about abundance, which many of us seem to want but not be able to have, the question is why? Why is that? It's because we don't understand the principle. Because if we understand the principle of abundance, we would be working with it, collaborating with it, cooperating with it, and with each other in order to ensure that abundance was able to freely flow. When I think about abundance, I think about life. Life is abundant. Life is overflowing. Life is teeming with more life. That's the nature of it. It's called life for that reason. And I'm not talking about the definition we give to life, because what we call life is actually a lifetime. It is a process. It is a manifestation of living in the context of eternity. Eternity and time are not separated. Time, in fact, is a manifestation of eternity. And what we do here or don't do has a bearing on how we spend eternity. Again, another story for another day. I'm talking about the principle of abundance, abundant life, abundance of thought, of abundance of spirit and joy and love and peace and all of those things we actually crave, not just crave. Do you know why we crave something? Generally speaking, we crave something because there's something that we need. We focus on the craving rather than why the craving is there to begin with. But many of us, we crave love or peace or joy or wholeness or wellness or healing or togetherness because we actually need that to function as human beings. We just have not been taught how to get there, or we have resisted how to get there. Such is the case with the principle of abundance. I don't think there's anyone here today, listening or speaking, me first, that has not at some point in their lives, even potentially now, said, I wish I had more of something or some relationship or could fix or could do. The deficit, we focus on the deficit of the thing because we either it is truly something that we need or we think it's something that we need. But when we're operating in the flow of abundance, in the flow of life, the things that we need make themselves evident without us having to manipulate or to ourselves. We don't have to manipulate ourselves. We don't have to manipulate the situation and circumstances. We don't have to manipulate other people. Generally speaking, that spirit of abundance, if we are cooperating with it, if we understand the principle and are willing to give ourselves over to it, then that spirit of abundance, that process, that principle will flow. It won't be stop, start going to some people and not others. So let's talk about it again. What is the foundation? The foundation is not, let me get everything I can for what I need. Let me make sure I'm taken care of, me and mine. That's actually deficit thinking. I have more, but it's not life to me. It's only abundance if it's giving life to you. So think about this. If we're talking about farming, farmers want abundant harvest. They don't want to plant a crop and get an ear of corn. They don't want to plant a vineyard and get one vine of grapes. Everything that they do, forward thinking in the process and yet taking care of it, stewarding it in the moment, is what they have to do and know they have to do in order to get to the end goal. So they are masters of reverse engineering. This is the harvest that I want. Here are the steps that I need to take, starting with what kind of ground am I working with? From a spiritual perspective, that means what is the foundational principle that I must operate by and operate in order to get this harvest over here that I desire. So if the goal is, or since the goal is abundance, I want my bills paid off, I want my family well, I want this disease off my family, off my life, off of other human beings. I want to be able to have work that is productive. I want to be able to get educated and have my own home or have a place to live or have my own business. The first step is to reverse engineer it. In this case, however, because we're talking about a spiritual principle, you can't reverse engineer it unless you understand how the principle works. And for all, if not most of our lives, I can't say all because we're still here, but for a good bit of our lives, we've been taught deficit thinking, not critical thinking, not forward thinking, even though we call it that. We've been taught things that actually go against the flow of life, not that put us in the flow of life, because we also don't define life properly. Life is different than being alive or living, going through the process. Living, going through the process, a lifetime is not necessarily filled with life. I'll talk about that another time. It is meant to bring us into our humanity. So us being born as human beings doesn't guarantee humanity. It guarantees humanity from a noun perspective. Humanity exists. When humans are born, then you have humanity. But being human does not guarantee that we bear the responsibility of being humane and operating in humanity the way that we should. And so the process that we call life is actually living. It is an obstacle course, if you will. It's an obstacle course. It's a boot camp to teach us how to live. It causes us to grow into our humanity. But it only causes us to grow into our humanity if that's what we know we're supposed to be doing. If we're told that your purpose here is to do X, Y, Z, and the things have nothing to do with life but living, life is not to be survived. Lifetimes, challenges in life are not meant to be survived. They're meant to be overcome. Overcoming has life in it. Surviving Maybe not. And yes, we've survived a lot of things individually and collectively, but understand that there is a greater purpose for you and for me that we don't talk about nearly as much as we should because we have deficit thinking, death-minded thinking. You can ask me why, because I know, because I had to be on a deathbed in order to understand this. What we call life is not life at all. It's a process that we minimize, that we despise, which is actually meant to cause us to operate and to grow into humanity and function at the highest level so that when we transition out of these bodies, we are our highest and best selves. But we're gradually getting there and incrementally getting there as we go back to abundance. The foundation is not that I have everything that I need, so let me get more, more, more. The foundation is, do you have what you need? How can I help you get what you need? And I'm going to share some things with you about some things that I do on a very small scale, not so that you can copy me. I hope in some areas you will. But this isn't about me trying to replicate myself in you. This is about things that you might be able to do on your own to allow abundance, the abundance of life itself, to flow through you. Not just to you, but through you. Because every farmer knows that when they take care of the ground, that when they plant the seed properly, that when they take care and irrigate properly, make sure that the water is good, that the water, the timing of the water, the irrigation, they pray for rain, they pray for sun, no drought. We don't want drought or floods. And we operate oftentimes in either one or both of those modes. We either have a drought or a flood. But abundance says we have the right balance. I have drought, I have dryness when I need dryness on the ground. The ground has the optimal balance of moisture without flooding. The seed is still protected and germinating and growing properly. And by the grace of the life force of the universe, there are no quote unquote acts of God that would cause my work as a farmer, I'm speaking as a farmer, would cause my work to be interrupted, disrupted. Yet I know that is a possibility. So just remember, control is a myth. We'll talk about that soon. But all things being equal, a farmer or a vintner or anyone that works with the ground to bring forth life out of the ground, to bring forth food and things needed for our well-being, they know that they have the opportunity to partake of that first. But that's not why they plant. The whole concept of farming is a very noble profession. I don't know if that's the right terminology. If it's not, you can, let me know. But I'm going to call it a profession, a calling. Maybe a calling is like shepherding. It's a calling. You can't just go farm. You have to learn. You have to be dedicated. You have to be dedicated to the land. You have to know the land. You have to know what you're working with. You can't manipulate it, because if you manipulate it, it'll tell on you. If not this crop, the next one. But farmers are master reverse engineers. This is the harvest that I want. Let me see what kind of ground I have. Let me see what my seed looks like. Does this seed match this ground to give me this harvest? What are the things that I need to do in between? What are the diligences that I have to apply myself to in order to ensure that this process goes to the degree that I can control? I don't have control, because having control means that I know everything that could impact it at the same time. But I don't. So farmers plant to take their goods to market, to be in the service of others. People need food. Okay, I will plant that. This is what I'm going to plant. But they also get a harvest of their own in the process. And hopefully you're picking up on this. Because we have got to stop thinking of, if we are truly operating in the spirit of abundance, we don't have to think about abundance, because abundance will find us. It'll find you. That is the spirit of life. It's like gravity. You don't have to think about gravity. Gravity was here when you got here. It's going to be with you every day until you leave here. You have to think about it. You operate in it. Why? Because it is a spiritual principle, it's a spiritual force. Abundance is a spiritual force. It'll find you if you're operating in it. What's the principle? I wish I had more. And here's the challenge. Don't think I'm going to finish this by telling you, I'm going to tell you all the highlights and not tell you what the challenges are, because they are great and many. And even though there might be only a handful of them, in terms of who we are, what we've been taught, how we're conditioned, what we think, what we like to do, what we want to do, all of those things, not wanting to be told what to do. Here's the trick. Because it is easy to go to the cupboard when it's bare and very instantaneously say, I don't have. Principle of abundance, the basics, how it truly works. Very easy, and I've done it many times. Oh, I don't have. And I'm not just talking about I have something, I have food in the fridge or food in the cabinets, and I don't want that. That has happened too. It's happened to you, it's happened to me. I'm not talking about that moment, because that's kind of even worse. But I'm not going to go that deep. I'm going to go to the very core of this challenge. The very core of the challenge of living in in abundance and understanding the spiritual principle of abundance is this. I have one can or one bag or one, whatever it is, $1 or one place to live or no place to live. I don't have, and maybe that's the way we start. Let me finish this, and then I'm going to tell you what you should do to identify areas that are blocked, that abundance is blocked in your life. The challenge is to take the thing you do have and give it to somebody else. I have $1. Can you give them 10 cents? I have one can and one bag. Can you give them the bag or the can? That's what begins to break that deficit, death-minded thinking that we carry, that we may not even be aware of. We're born into it. And we're taught that. That's what this world system is all about. Well, the more you have, no, that is actually deficit-minded thinking, because abundance is life. And life is never thinking about death. Life is eternal. It doesn't need our permission, but it does need our cooperation in order to function in us and through us. We do not have to. I used to hear people say all the time, I don't hear it as much anymore because I stay away from these kinds of conversations to the degree that I can. When we see people on the corner who don't appear to have anything, and we automatically make the presumption, oh, well, if they would have only done this, they wouldn't be there, or they're just trying to scam us, or, and I'm not saying any of this is that this isn't true. I'm not, but see, here's the piece. It's not our judgment to make, because everything is a test, and the test is, and safety, of course, is utmost. So I get it. But if you're in a safe place and someone is expressing a need, are you willing to give into that need? I'm also not just talking about physical needs. So if someone holds a cup and you have $1 and you put in $1, but you got $1 million, that's not a sacrifice for you. That's just $1. It may be a sacrifice because you're judging them. But what that $1 will do, if you're tight with money, what that $1 will do is begin to break the spirit of death and deficit on your money. But spiritually speaking, when we begin to think about it, like the farmers do, but making sure we have ground. Who needs this at least as much as I do? Or who needs it more than me? Give you an example. Again, using a physical thing, but this also applies spiritually. So I'm going to talk to you about a spirit thing, a soul thing, and I'm talking to you right now about what I call a body or a physicality thing. When I talk about body, I'm not just necessarily talking about your physiology, your container. I'm talking about everything attached to it, where you live, your family, your heritage, your house, all of those things. Because when the body falls off, all of that goes away too. So I'm going to give you a body example, a natural example. Then I'm going to go to the supernatural and the belief part and the processing or the thought process part. So when I go to the grocery store, again, not trying to make you me, but you have to identify where your opportunities are. And one of those ways is going to be for you to identify everything that you have said you don't need or don't want or don't have. I mean, not don't need, don't want. Don't have. I don't have. Even if you have 1,000 of them, you still want more. I don't have. Anything in your life that is not leading to life. So sometimes we want to say, there are some I don't have that we need to say. I don't have the same bad habits that I use. That's life. But most of the time, that's not what we're talking about. And I'm not going to drill down too far on that because you understand what I'm saying. There are some I don't haves that are breaking cycles and things off of us that would cause us to continue to live a deficit-based life. When I go, one of the things I do is when I go to the grocery store, if they have a buy one, get one, even if I don't use the product, I will get a buy one, get one, and I always earmark it. I put it in the bag immediately when I get to where I'm going. To try to take donations to a local donation center, food donation center around town once a week. So if I go to the grocery store, they have a buy one, get one of non-perishables. I'll get at least one buy one, get one deal. And sometimes those are no more than $1, $1.50. So you get two things for a buck. And that is automatically going to feed someone else. You don't have to know the person. You don't have to know their circumstance. You don't have to know their situation, which is good because you can't make any judgments about them, and neither can I. Because we would we would be very surprised at some people right now who might need those two cans, who we think probably are eating steaks every night. So I would encourage you, if you like that activity, if it suits you, do that. If there's something else that you can do along those lines, you be creative and you own this for your life. We're talking about the spirit of life in abundance, the spirit of abundance, true abundance, and how it really works. From a belief perspective, you have to believe that there's more to life. That doesn't mean that we have to be damning or condemning of the lives that we have or that anyone else has. In fact, that is also deficit or deaf-minded thinking. We don't have to put anyone down in order to get where we need to be. We just need to recognize, if I recognize some things about myself, since we are all human, then it is likely that applies to multiple other people, if not everyone. So from a belief standpoint, abundance is life. It's breaking out of the habits, the cycles, the tendencies that keep us in a survival mode versus an overcoming mode. The challenges of life are not meant to be survived, they're meant to be overcome. That doesn't mean we're overcoming and overwhelming each other. It is a spiritual context. I have to believe in the overcoming power of the life force of the universe. Abundance to take hold in my life. And I have to be willing at a spiritual level first to say, okay, well, I'm gonna believe, not think, not reason. I'm going to believe, and I'm going to operate in the belief that I have something to give someone else that is going to help them and also allow the spirit of abundance to operate in my life. We have to remind ourselves, because of things we see externally, there's so much out of line right now. There's so much out of line. And you can just look around. I mean, we could be in your own house, your own life. It doesn't matter. Not telling you to judge it. Just look at it. Just observe. Things are out of order. They're off kilter. And they're off kilter because we don't understand basic spiritual principles that actually bring life to ourselves and to other people. So this is how it really works. Like the farmer. I don't need to investigate you. I just find neutral places to give. If you don't want to give to the person on the corner, then find a homeless shelter to donate to. Right? We're not oblivious. We're not going to be unreasonable. No one's necessarily asking you to risk your life to give. But if you want to break the cycle, you have to be willing to give in places where you may not even have what you feel like you need or want. But abundance, societally speaking, cannot happen fully to the fullest extent. We've never reached, I can tell you right now, we've never experienced abundance at the level I believe it's available to us. We haven't gotten there yet. Why? Because we're death-minded thinking people. Generally speaking, not every single person. Generally speaking, you have your spots of light. Generally speaking, societally speaking, because what deficit says is I have to hold on to this. What life says is I need to release it in order to bring more life. So abundance will continue to reproduce, not just in the person to whom I'm giving, but also in me without me having to think about it. It's automatic from that standpoint. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to ask about it. It's a principle that we operate in because we're here. What we are experiencing individually and collectively is a stoppage of abundance because of how we operate, because of how we think, because of how we manipulate. But we can break that when we begin to think, oh, okay, you know what? I need this. Who else might need this too? And then you just wait. Because I also believe that there's a leading, there's an intuition that comes with this process that lets us know. It may not be immediate. But when you begin to think this way and train yourself to think this way, guess what? Your life starts to take on a different look. And like the farmer, you will be more diligent in how you tend your own ground, because even though the farmer wants that harvest, they know they have to sow the seed first. We like to get the harvest, but we don't want to do any work. And sometimes the work we do is shoddy. But every good farmer knows, every honorable farmer knows that they have to do the work, put in the work to get the harvest. And sometimes even then, it might get wiped out, but they keep at it. That takes integrity, that takes honor, that takes dignity. So I encourage you today, if you have things in your life, just write down. Just start there. If you pray, pray. If you don't, just make a list. Well, you still gotta make a list no matter what. You gotta write it down. Don't type it, write it. Because your body needs to express that and get it out of your system. And then go review your list. And take baby steps, incremental steps. But take steps. And before you know it, you will begin to think consistently, and you will see places in your life where maybe you'll look around and you'll say, hey, you know what? I don't have what I need here, but I have this, right? So it's just not about giving away things. It's about being solution seeking. We like to talk about problems, and the reason we have so many problems is because we're deficit and death-minded thinkers. But it's one thing to see a problem. I'm not in any way, shape, or form talking about denial. It's one thing to see a problem and say, hey, that's a problem. Let's keep talking about the problem. It's another thing to say, hey, that's a problem, but how can we all come together to fix that problem, and whoever we all might be, so that it works for everyone? That's life. That's abundance. And that abundance will manifest spirit, soul, and body. So you'll have the spiritual resources, the emotional, intellectual, psychological, all of those resources. And you'll have the physical or natural resources to that express, or manifestations of the supernatural resources. Abundance, how it really works. Abundance doesn't manifest by you thinking about you. And if it does, that's not the kind of abundance you want. You want life-giving, life-edifying, joy, peace, unifying life. That's what it is. That's what it does. That brings abundance with it and continues to multiply in your life and in the lives of others. Not because you sit around thinking about you all day. Not because I sit around thinking about me all day. But because even when we have our moments of despair or discouragement, we find a way after that moment has passed, or even in that moment, to say, who else might be thinking about this? Can I offer a prayer? Can I offer a thought? Can I check in on someone today? Is there a place I can go to donate a canned good? Is there someone I can just say, if I'm going to work or to wherever I might be in my travels, is there someone I can just say hi to today? Not because I want to be weird, but because I just want to somebody needs to know that they are seen today. It has to work for you in the context of your own life. That's why I tell you, I'm not trying to get you to replicate what I do. I'm just giving you ideas. You have to be the one, because you're going to own this. I can't own this for you. I know what I do, and I share what I do. But at the end of the day, it's yours to own. You have to look at your own life first. What is keeping you from operating in abundance? And it's not the job market. It's not all those things they tell us that it is. It's not. I get it. Trust me. I get it. These are some realities that we deal with. But if the only place we can go for abundance is a job market, we got another set of problems. What I'm talking about is greater than, is higher than. It's spiritual first, like everything else is. And we have not, individually or collectively, ascended spiritually to a place where we truly understand abundance in the way that is intended for us to stand and understand, and in the way that it is available to us. We haven't even tried yet, because we're so busy talking about what we don't have and who didn't do what and how they didn't do it. We have withheld and we have condemned, which is a sign of deficit, death-minded thinking. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you are. But this life is not meant to be survived. It's meant to be the challenges of this life, of this living process. It's meant to allow us to grow into our humanity as humans, how we think about each other, how we treat each other, how we find community, how we build each other up, how we teach, how we learn, how we share, how we interact in appropriate ways, so that we all become the optimal individuals, spirit, soul, while we're here, spirit, soul, and body. And when we transition into an eternal destiny, that we could have said that the work we did here, yes, work, the work we did here far surpassed our expectations, even our hopes, our dreams, and our desires. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I bless you, and I look forward to seeing you again. Remember, abundance is life, and life is abundance. I'll see you next time.